What's up, guys? We are here Monday after the Super Bowl. Our boss is making us work. It's the worst. It is honestly should be like a crime to have to work the day of the Super Bowl. But I'm joined by Connor O'Gara, Dustin Schutte. I'm wearing my. We're all showing off. We were talking about this before off air, showing off our shirts here. Connor's wearing a fantastic NBA Jam shirt. Dustin has a beautiful sweater, which is also nice. I told him to dress up, and I was kidding. And then I'm wearing my favorite holiday themed around a baby and a cake shirt possible. So here we go. Happy Mardi Gras to everyone in Louisiana. Speaking of Louisiana, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Super Bowl Sunday. What did y'all think? Like, did y'all enjoy the game? A lot of people said it was like kind of a snooze fest. I didn't agree with that. I thought it was a pretty good game, but I just takeaways from it, and then like I'm gonna reserve all of my stuff for the halftime show because that was clearly the highlight, and it was probably the best show since Prince or MJ from the Rose Bowl. But Connor, what did you think about the game in general? And were you happy Stafford won and the Rams won, or were you disappointed?
I'm just here to talk about the halftime show. So look, I have a lot of thoughts on the halftime show and how great it was. I kind of did a little bit of 180 with the Stafford thing because the Burrow storyline it's been awesome to watch. It's been incredible, and it feels like you're watching something special. And even as somebody that doesn't have any sort of Bengals affiliation, LSU affiliation, I find myself wanting to see Joe Burrow succeed. So like that of course was my overwhelming rooting interest going into this one.
Right.
But I realized I spent a decade rooting against Matt Stafford and making some offhanded remarks as a Bears fan about his struggles. And my brother and I would always call him Stifford whenever he would throw a sidearm, which he was known to do many times. Yeah. And so I kind of have seen these last 2 weeks and have found myself having this soft spot for him.
Right.
And being like, oh, you know what? It actually wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to see that guy win on this stage.
Yeah.
And to see him kind of get to have that moment and escape Detroit, which everybody should be able to do.
Say that part again. Escape Detroit. That is exactly what happened.
I was happy for Stafford, definitely.
Yeah. And if you can't see Connor's background, like where Connor's originally from outside of Chicago, so he's a big Bears fan, stuff like that. So that's more of like the Lions thing. Another guy from the Big Ten here, obviously Dustin Schutte. He manages most of the content on our Saturday Tradition site, which is like I don't want to say our Big Ten site, but it's like the site that we also have for the teams that don't play a regular season that's that difficult, but they do play 9 games. So go ahead, Dustin. I mean, what was your main takeaway? Did you enjoy the game? I know you're not an SEC guy, so there wasn't that storyline, but what were your thoughts?
First of all, it's like you guys are going to like the fun frat party, and I got choir duty here at college with this sweater. I was not under the impression we were wearing cool t-shirts. So that's number one. So my 2 takeaways in terms of like the quarterback situation was with Matt Stafford. I feel like this is like 30, 40 years later of what it would have been for like Archie Manning, who had to play his entire career with the New Orleans Saints. And Matt Stafford gets out of Detroit, and in one season wins the Super Bowl. Like, that was a great storyline. And I think like I have to go back, and maybe you guys can shed some light on this, but I feel like these 2 quarterbacks, it's like the most well-liked quarterback situation in the Super Bowl since like maybe Drew Brees and Peyton Manning back in 2009, 2010. So I think it was just like, to me, there was not a lot of rooting interest. Like if you were not a Bengals fan or a Rams fan, you just wanted to see good football. And I think that that's what we got. So the other thing was like when Joe Burrow was walking into the stadium, it was like a mix. Like, you remember that movie Wild Wild West with Will Smith and Kevin Kline? Like, if you combine their 2 images on the cover of that video, that's what he was dressed like, with the cowboy hat, the sunglasses. Like, I'm telling you, look at 1999 Wild Wild West, the film cover, and then take a look at what Joe Burrow wore into that stadium. It's like a carbon copy, man.
The fact that we did not get to see the Joe Burrow victory suit is the biggest bummer, because if he wore that pregame,
a couple of things here. One, I'm so glad we finally worked in a Kevin Kline reference into these videos. Like that's what's really been missing, right? But the other part of it too, like what Connor just said, like this is I know it's usually a PG show, but I'm just going to repeat what Joe Burrow did after the national championship game, which was after smoking the cigar in the locker room, after like getting wads of cash from OBJ, and no one cared. No one cared because everyone was on board for that, allegedly. And then, but he went out like on Bourbon Street with a hat that said Big Dick Joe. And it was like, and no one had a problem with it. It was like, yeah, of course. Like, of course you wear that. You should get a shirt too and that matches because like everyone loves Joe Burrow, which I think speaks to your point, Dustin. Like, I hate saying this. I hate people that say this, especially like, as you guys know, I'm a big Bama fan. So it's like, if Bama's in a big game and stuff like that, and I'm watching it with like other people, which is a rarity. But if someone's like, yeah, I'm just hoping for a good game, I'm like, please get the blank away from me this entire 3.5 hours because we're not going to get along. But I found myself saying that last night for the first time, like in a long time. And it was kind of fun as like, I'm not a huge Tom Brady hater, but it was fun to like watch a Super Bowl where it didn't feel like half the country was just pulling against somebody. You know what I mean? Like, so,
look, I came into that kind of thinking that the public support was going to be on Burrow, right? Like Burrow is he is transcending fan bases far and wide. And there's something just very likable about a guy who is confident in the way that he is. And of course, if you lose, we're going to all of a sudden, we're going to start to criticize, hey, you can't be showing up. It's the Cam Newton thing.
Yeah, it's exactly.
Cam Newton looking like Cam Newton. I mean, that was what everybody kind of was thinking is like, all right, eventually he might hit a point where he's going to have to take it on the chin, but he's okay with that. If there's anybody who's okay with taking hits, it's the guy who took more sacks than anybody in the NFL this
69.
year to the Super Bowl. Yes, of course you had that stat ready to go. I would expect nothing less of you. By the way, I'd like to say, I'm not a gambling guy. I'm very interested by it, but I don't necessarily put my own financial stake in these games. I participated in squares. And $25 square, 7-7 was what I drew. 7-7. So basically, any point in the game, if the scores end with 7 or 7, that was, I got lucky. I felt like getting that because it's all random when they draw squares. You pay for the square ahead of time. They do the random thing. If T. Higgins catches that pass at the end of the first half, your boy wins $500 for barely doing anything. For a $25,
barely doing anything.
For the $25 donation to charity that I made 2 months ago from a guy who has a $2,500 pool. But that was the only rooting interest that I really had. And then after that fell through, I was kind of like, well, I do just kind of want to see a good game.
Right. I do. I'll tell you this. I was at a Super Bowl party and one, hats off to the person who hosted it if they're watching, because I pitched an absolute fit on the way down to this person's house because she was like, didn't have buffalo chicken dip. And I was like, it's literally the only time of year you absolutely have to have that. So she went to the store and got it real quick, which is super nice. Wow. I know. But the other part is like, you know, the gambling part, I'm sitting next to this girl and we did a video last week. It's like, what's the, appreciate it, dude. We talked about last week we did a video, me and Tyler Huck, and it was like, all right, the absolute must bet. We definitely went 0 for 2. And because we each gave one. Mine was like the first sack is going to be of Burrow, not Stafford, and it was of course the opposite. But I was sitting next to this girl who was like quiet the whole time, and then the halftime ends, and she's like, "You got to be effing kidding me!" And I was like, "What's wrong?" She's like, "I had 4 and 0 in my squares, and I would have won $250 at the end of the first half if they don't miss that extra point." So I was like, "Oh my god, that's tough." And so then the end of the game is 23-20. And she's been quiet the whole time. And she stands up. She's like, "Are you effing kidding me?" Like, flips out. We're like, "Is she okay?" And I knew exactly what she was going through. Like immediately I was like trying to rush to her side, I guess. Cause I was like, "Yeah, is it because you lost $500 now?" She's like, "It is. You didn't have to say it out loud. That's exactly why." All right. Gambling, football, all that aside. Since this is like really just like a good hang that we're having here. Let's talk about the halftime show. And I'm going to start with the fact that I'm going to save my criticism towards the end because I only have one criticism. Fine, I'll do it now. That was the best halftime show we have seen since either Prince doing like In the Rain, right? Like in Closing the Purple
Dustin's
Rain.
going to push back on this so hard.
Why?
I can feel it. I can just feel it. I know it.
So like, and like, I know that what he has become known as, but like Michael Jackson at the Rose Bowl in '92 was effing awesome. It was awesome. This was the best show I think since then. Mary J. Blige was incredible. Dre was incredible. The video of Snoop just openly smoking weed, like right before he goes on stage, it's like circulated Twitter, was hilarious. 250 Cent, that he has bulked up. It is bulking season for him. And I felt bad for him kind of, but it was so cool that he came out and did the whole thing. Like it was pure nostalgia. My pushback or my criticism is, as somebody from Atlanta, you can see the sign behind me. There it is. To this day, it makes me so mad that like you bring out all these like California rappers and stuff like that, and like people based out of that area. The fact that we got Adam Levine for the Atlanta Super Bowl is like, all jokes aside, an absolute effing travesty. And you could have had Big Boy and Outkast, and it still pisses me off. Anyway,
that's a complaint with then. That's not a complaint about yesterday.
No, it's not a complaint at all. Yesterday, yesterday was awesome. It was flat out awesome. But like, what were y'all's thoughts?
I don't feel like you are giving Adam Levine enough love.
I knew you were gonna do this. It's a good point, Connor. Yeah.
I'm also upset about the fact that you stole my joke. I was gonna make some sort of inflation joke about 50 Cent, and now he's reached a full $1 or something.
Yeah. It sounds like you had the delivery worked out, so it's good. I'm sorry I stole that for you.
That song about 21 questions, how a fat kid loves
cake.
I feel like that might actually be him now.
Careful.
Like I texted one of my, it's true. I saw there's some Twitter issues going on with 50 Cent and some people who were calling him out, but I thought it was awesome. Like I texted one of my buddies and I was like, this is like a remix of all the burned CDs you downloaded from Limewire and made for us all throughout middle school and high school. Like it was pure nostalgia. The only part I didn't like about it was the Kendrick Lamar part. Like legitimately, everybody else I thought was awesome. I thought Snoop was awesome. I just saw that video Monday morning of him smoking weed before the show. Like that's incredible. Eminem was fantastic. I have really no complaints. I didn't like the Kendrick Lamar stuff, but you get no pushback from me other than next time show Adam Levine some credit.
Connor, I'm going to hold back on my furiousness right now about the Kendrick Lamar part. You go ahead.
Okay. Incredible.
Yeah.
That is what this is going to come as a big surprise. My first real exposure to music was that whole like West Coast.
Was that halftime show?
Was that halftime show? Yeah. I'm 31 years old. I've never listened to any music whatsoever. I grew up loving Dre and Snoop. That was 2001 was the first CD I ever owned. I tweeted that out. Like that is a true story. Why my parents signed off on that, I will never know to this day. There is a song on that track. I can't say that on this airwaves. I'll say that for off.
Yeah.
But people who are listening to this know what track I'm talking about, in which a young Connor learned some things. We'll just say that. That was perfect. It made me feel old, knowing that was kind of this nostalgic thing. When Dre comes out on the piano and he's doing the beat for Still Dre, I got chills.
I have it right now.
It was like that moment was to me like one of the coolest moments I've seen. And to be honest, like Super Bowl halftime shows are a bit hit or miss, I think, all over the place, whether you like the artist or not, because sometimes you can like the artist and not really like the acoustics. You don't really like the sound. You don't like the overall vision of it.
Performance,
I was there like 10 years ago. I was there when it was Madonna at Indy, and you couldn't hear a thing that she was doing. I was like, this is stupid. This isn't even a concert. You can't even hear what she's saying. Didn't even really look good on TV. That was everything that I've ever wanted. They mixed in everything so well. The fact that they had this build up to Eminem. And then it's like, all right, you get this awesome moment where he's doing Lose Yourself and everybody's just kind of feeling it. That was incredible. That was the best halftime show that I have seen, that I've witnessed within my time of knowing what music is, which is like, I guess the last 25 years.
I have to throw in a question here. Like I entered that halftime show with really low expectations. Like I saw the cast and it was kind of like what you said, Connor. Like you go into some of these things like, okay, I like all these performers, but what's it going to look like when it's live in front of a major? So I was like, there's no way this is going to sound good. And Maria Taylor said before the halftime show, she's like, this might be the greatest halftime show ever. And I'm like, this is going to be a disaster. And I was so pleasantly surprised. Like it was awesome.
It's so good to hear how positive and optimistic you always are in general. So it's like I should be the pessimistic, cynical one, and you're over here. Like for me, watching all that, the Connor nailed it. Like and Dustin, honestly, you did too with the whole thing. It's like every everything that ever crashed your parents' computer in high school or middle school from Limewire. It's like 1,000% correct. But I just like nostalgia was awesome. The Kendrick Lamar thing. So for me, and everyone knows this about like we work with, is I'm the emotional one at like this company. So like for Mary J to come out and bring down I used to listen to a lot of Mary J Blige after breakups. Okay, I'll be honest. And Mary J Blige coming out looks fantastic. By the way, looks incredible. It's like 51. I think that's how old she is. But she brings the mood down with like some song, obviously that's like very, very. I don't even remember what it was. Then she brings the mood right back up. The transition from that into Kendrick Lamar, and the fact that they didn't just do like, I know they did like a lot of the hits, but like Kendrick coming out to like All Right, and then and I can't even think of like the name of the song, but the one he opened with, those are all legit Kendrick Lamar songs. It's just not like what we hear on the radio. So I loved every part of it, including the Kendrick part. So
I think the only complaint I have, I wanted more Forgot About Dre.
Yeah,
that's like maybe my all time. Anyway, I know we got the Eminem part, but the Dre verses in that song are so good. And like just the other day, I was trying to figure out if I still knew all the words to that song.
Really?
It's pretty close, and I'm not going to do it on these airwaves. That might be saved for a certain karaoke night in Hoover.
In July,
we probably won't be pulling that one out. A lot of potential potholes.
Right.
That I can step in.
That's stumbling blocks there.
That I will avoid some words there that I shouldn't be saying. So not going to make the cut. But that I guess that would be my only little complaint. And I actually agree with Dustin about the Kendrick Lamar part, where I was kind of like, I want more Dre and Snoop. I want more on them. Like even more 50 Cent would be perfectly fine.
That's fair. I was surprised Ice Cube didn't make an appearance. That's about the last thing I'll say. And we're gonna close this thing out. But it was great. And the stage, by the way, we don't have time to really talk about it. But the stage was also
no idea what it was.
So
I don't either.
Anyway, all right. So Connor, Dustin, thank you for joining us. This was fun. Like I said, just kind of like a good hang and talking about what happened in the Super Bowl yesterday. We have put your social media stuff here at the bottom, and we'll just talk to you soon.